Hello everybody, welcome to today's Ocean Wonders video, which is all about sea turtles. Get ready to learn some really interesting facts about these really amazing ancient sea creatures. So first off, what is a sea turtle? Well, sea turtles are reptiles. Reptiles are a group of animals that have scales, so they've got scaly skin instead of fur. They lay eggs and they're cold-blooded. So if an animal is cold-blooded, this means that its body is around the same temperature as the environment around it. So if it's somewhere very cold, its body will be very cold. And if it's somewhere very hot, its body will be very hot as well. Think about you and me. If we go somewhere very cold, we might feel a bit cold, but we're usually still okay. If you were to use a thermometer, your body would still be around the same temperature, no matter if you were somewhere very hot or very cold. There'd only be very small changes in the temperature of your body. This is because we are warm-blooded. But reptiles, and for example sea turtles, they aren't able to control the temperature of their body as well. So you usually only find reptiles in places that are kind of warm, so that they can get some energy from the sun. So that's why we don't see that many sea turtles around Ireland, because it's pretty cold here. They're usually found in warmer tropical seas. So what are some other reptiles that you can think of? Can you name any other reptiles? Well, I'll tell you a few. First off, there's things like crocodiles and alligators. They are reptiles. Lizards are reptiles as well. And of course, snakes. So sea turtles have been around for 110 million years. That's a really long time. Even the dinosaurs were around back 110 million years ago. There are 7 different types or species of sea turtles alive today. So we're going to be learning a bit more about them in a minute. A question a lot of people ask is, what's the difference between a turtle and a tortoise? Well, the truth is they are closely related. They belong to the same family, and you can just use the word turtle to talk about any of them. But there are some key differences. So today we're talking about sea turtles. Sea turtles, as you might imagine, live in the seas and oceans. You can see that it has a very long, flattened flipper, and this is to help it push water behind it as it's swimming. It also has a much flatter shell, and this is to make it a fast swimmer so that there's not a lot of drag while it swims. In the middle, we've got a tortoise. Tortoises live on land. They have more domed shells, and their feet are designed so that they can walk on land and that the big foot holds them up. You can see that it kind of almost looks a bit like an elephant's foot. And then over here on the right, we have a freshwater turtle, and these are sometimes called terrapins. They live in swamps, lakes, ponds, and rivers. And you can see that it has kind of little claws there. So that's the difference between turtles and tortoises. So where do sea turtles live? Well, sea turtles live in warm seas. Like we said, they're cold-blooded, so they like warm tropical and subtropical temperatures, or even Mediterranean temperatures. You can find sea turtles in Greece as well, in the Mediterranean Sea. They love coral reefs and seagrass meadows. And our waters, unfortunately, are usually a bit too cold for turtles, but we do get an occasional visitor. Turtles travel thousands of kilometers, migrating from their feeding grounds to their breeding grounds. And they spend most of their life in shallow seas or the open oceans. The only time they really come on land is when the female turtles are laying their eggs. When the babies hatch out, they have to travel into the sea and drift with the current for many years. But we'll talk about that in a minute. So what do sea turtles eat? Well, you've probably heard that sea turtles eat jellyfish, and that's true. Many sea turtles do eat jellyfish. And you might have heard that sometimes sea turtles mix up jellyfish for plastic bags and they end up getting sick because they've eaten a plastic bag. And that's true as well, because plastic bags can look and smell a lot like jellyfish when they've been in the water for a long time. So it's very important not to litter. But as well as jellyfish, sea turtles eat lots of other things as well. So green sea turtles really like eating seagrass. So they graze like cows on seagrass meadows. Loggerhead sea turtles have really big, thick jaws, and they use this to crack open the shells of shellfish and crabs. Other things that sea turtles like to eat are sea sponges, sea squirts, and sea cucumbers. So really they have a very varied diet, and it depends on what type of sea turtle you're talking about. So I mentioned earlier that sea turtles have to come up onto beaches to breed. So what happens is mother sea turtles crawl up onto sandy beaches at night time. They dig out a nest in the soft sand at the back of the beach, and then they lay their eggs into that nest, and then they cover it over with sand again, and they head back to the ocean. They don't ever see their baby sea turtles again. That's the only interaction that they have with them. Now, these little sea turtle eggs have to stay in the sand for several weeks, and then when they're ready, the baby sea turtles hatch out and they have to make their way down to the tide. Now, it can be very dangerous for a baby sea turtle to get that far down to the beach because they're very small, and while they make that journey, they're vulnerable to all kinds of predators, things like foxes, seagulls, and as well as that, they can only find the water by following the light of the moon shining off the water's surface. Now, that might seem like a great idea, but these days there's often a lot of artificial light at the back of the beach. For example, if there's restaurants at the back of the beach or street lighting, and sometimes baby sea turtles end up going the wrong way and ending up in the middle of towns instead of out at sea. Often they don't survive when this happens, unfortunately. Mother sea turtles can lay around 100–120 eggs in one go. It depends on the species of sea turtle. But unfortunately, only about 1 in 1,000 sea turtle hatchlings actually survives to adulthood. Young sea turtles, when they arrive into the water, they spend years swimming along with the current, feeding and growing bigger. And really, it's still a bit of a mystery as to where they go and what they do in this time. But it can take them 30 to 40 years before they reach their full adult size. So let's have a look at some of the different types of sea turtle. So the leatherback sea turtle is kind of different from the other sea turtles that are alive today. It actually belongs to a family all of its own, but it's the only surviving member of that family. So leatherback sea turtles look a bit different, and they are a bit different too. They are able to travel into much colder waters than other sea turtles are. They can travel as far north as Norway or as far south as the southern tip of New Zealand. They travel thousands of kilometers in their migrations. They're pretty cool looking. You might even find them off the south coast of Ireland sometime, so keep an eye out for them. So this lovely sea turtle is called the green sea turtle. It lives in tropical oceans all over the world, and you can kind of tell them apart from other sea turtles because they have very large eyes. So green turtles like to graze on seagrass meadows, and they play a very important role in the ecosystem by acting as grazers. Traditionally, green turtles have been caught by humans for food, for their eggs, and also for their shell and their skin to make into things like leather handbags. This turtle is a loggerhead turtle. They're called loggerheads because they have very strong, powerful jaws, which they use to crack open their prey, things like crabs and shellfish. They're omnivores, so that means they eat both plant and animal species, and they're found in tropical waters around the world. Loggerhead sea turtles can live to be up to 70 years old, possibly even older. So why are sea turtles important? Well, sea turtles are very important for a healthy ocean ecosystem. Animals like sharks need to feed on sea turtles. Sea turtles in turn graze on seagrass meadows, and they also feed on invertebrates, on reefs, for example. They play a very important role both as predator and as prey. Sea turtles are important for people too. Turtles attract tourists, which can be really good for coastal communities because it brings in people who want to go scuba diving or snorkeling or on boat tours to see the turtles. So long as this is done in a sustainable way that doesn't negatively impact on sea turtles, it can be very beneficial for coastal communities. Turtles also have a massive cultural significance for loads of cultures around the world. Traditionally, there's a myth called the world's turtle, and that's a myth that the world is on top of a sea turtle's back, floating through space, being carried along by the world's turtle. What do you think of that one? Finally, sea turtles are important just because they are, because they exist on this planet and they have as much right to be here as we do. So it's our responsibility to try and keep the oceans a healthy, safe place for sea turtles to live in. So unfortunately, like a lot of marine animals, turtles are in trouble. All 7 species of turtle are threatened or endangered because of marine litter, overfishing, and climate change. Turtles can mistake plastic for food, particularly if it's been floating in the sea for a long time and it smells like it comes from the sea. So for example, turtles often mistake plastic bags for jellyfish. They can choke on this plastic, or they can starve because they eat it thinking that it's food, but there's no actual nutrition in it. Sometimes they get entangled in it and they drown, or they might just be otherwise injured by the plastic. Turtles can also get caught in fishing nets, maybe fishing nets that have been left behind and they're still catching fish, or maybe they're caught when fishers are trying to catch something like tuna or other commercial fish, and turtles are caught accidentally as bycatch. Tourism can also negatively affect sea turtles. If there's too many people coming into a sea turtle's habitat, or there's a lot of development on beaches where sea turtles need to come up to nest, this can have a really negative impact on sea turtles. Climate change is bad news for sea turtles as well. With climate change, we're seeing more storms and hurricanes, and this is destroying beaches where sea turtles lay their eggs. It's also causing sea turtles to be blown off course by strong winds into much colder waters that they're not used to or able to survive in, for example, around Ireland. Because of climate change, our oceans are becoming warmer, and this is leading to a phenomenon called coral bleaching. Unfortunately, this kills off coral reef, which sea turtles depend on. So that's a big problem for our global sea turtles. Finally, a really interesting fact about sea turtles is that whether a baby sea turtle ends up being a boy turtle or a girl turtle depends on the temperature of the sand in which it's laid. So as we're seeing much warmer sand temperatures around the world, because temperatures are rising around the world, we're ending up with either just girl turtles or just boy turtles, depending on the species. Now, that might just sound kind of funny, but it's very important that there's a balance in nature and that there's the right number of boy turtles for the right number of girl turtles. So if there's only one or the other, the turtles are going to have a very hard time reproducing and there'll be less sea turtles in the future. So unfortunately, there's a lot of challenges facing sea turtles at the minute, and our oceans in general. But you know what? There's a lot of things that you and me can do to help our oceans. Here are some of the things that you can do. You can avoid single-use plastics. Single-use plastics are any type of plastic that you use once and then you throw away. Things like plastic cutlery, plastic balloons, plastic bottles, sweet wrappers, coffee cups. All of these things are single-use plastics. So maybe next time you can have a think about how you can use something reusable instead of single-use. Maybe you can get a reusable water bottle to keep your water in. Is that something that you could do? Always put your rubbish in the correct bin. So make sure you know the difference between your general waste bin, your recycling bin, and your composting bin. If you're out and about and there isn't a recycling bin, just make sure that you put your rubbish in the bin anyway, and make sure that you never litter. Walk or cycle wherever you can. This helps to reduce greenhouse gas emissions that are causing climate change. Only eat sustainably caught fish, so you can check the label on the fish to find out where it was caught. Turn off lights, TVs, computers, radios, and anything electronic when you're not using it. Do a beach or a street clean. Don't buy things made out of turtle shell if you come across them, maybe on your holidays. And encourage your family and friends to take action and do what they can to help reduce the effects of climate change and pollution. That's all from me for now. I hope you've enjoyed learning about sea turtles. I'll see you next time.